Hello and welcome to the Dance Yourself Brave show, where we get real about the struggles dancers face, from confidence battles to self-doubt, and how dance has the power to make us braver, stronger, and more unstoppable in every area of life. I'm your host, Mariana Santos, founder of Brazily Fitness. And whether you're a seasoned dancer, a dance instructor, dance lover, or someone who's always wanted to dance but feels a little intimidated to start, this show is for you. Expect honest conversations, inspiring stories, and simple ways to bring more dance into your life, whether that's in the studio, on stage, or right in your living room. And if you're a dance instructor, we've got you covered with tips on how to grow your dance business, attract more students, and create a bigger impact through your passion for movement. So if you're ready to step out of your comfort zone, own your movement, and dance yourself brave, let's do this. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dance Yourself Brave show. I'm your host, Mariana Santos, and I'm so excited that I have Nerissa Westcott with me today. How are you doing, Narissa?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on the show and, offering to share about your journey through dance. So let me just give a little bit of an introduction. So Narissa is a dance director at Renaissance Academy Charter School. She is the founder, artistic director, and choreographer of Artistic Edge Dance Company, as well as the founder and director of Dance the Edge Dance Competition. So that's a lot of dance. A lot of stuff you have going on, right? So why don't we start from the beginning? I like to kind of get a whole background about who you are, what you're doing, how you got started with dance. So let's just start from the very beginning.
Sure. So basically grew up dancing in a small studio in Quakertown called DanceWorks. And then after that, I went on to go dance, at a college, DeSales University. And that's where I got my degree. I also started at University of the Arts and then I transferred over to DeSales. But I completed my degree there. And then after, doing the whole degree, and I decided I was like, I really love, obviously dance in my world, but I also want to experiment with teaching. So throughout college is where I started teaching at various dance studios. So I grew up dance at DanceWorks. I started teaching there, and then I went on to other various dance studios. And then there came a point where I was like, you know what? I think I want to try out the more public school setting. So I had applied to a long-term substitute position in Philadelphia, and that's where I fell in love with teaching at like the public setting, just so I could experiment more with like foundations of dance, the technical aspect, but also like dance history, dance composition. And that was for about 3 months. And then I was like, okay, I'll keep, teaching at studios. But then I went on to apply to an arts academy charter school in Allentown. Got a part-time position there. And I did that for about a year. And then a position opened up in Phoenixville, where I'm at now, and I was able to land that position as a full-time dance director. So I was able to take all of, the knowledge I already knew and implement into my own program. So I was able to develop my own dance curriculum, able to take all of the classes that I really love to teach. They were very open to making sure the teacher felt like you are producing what you feel most confident with. So I was able to do contemporary and jazz and hip hop. I'm a very versatile dancer and choreographer. So I was like, I want to, have these students experiment as much technique in the different genres as possible. But then, of course, my family always says, you want more, you want more. I went on to continue working with professional dancers. So in that time, I was dancing for other dance company as well. But when I got the full-time job, I could not continue performing because it was more time consuming. So that's when I decided I want to have my own dance company, and I was able to develop myself on an artistic level working with professionals. So I have my own dance company. It's called Artistic Edge Dance Company. And it started with a lot of my former students. And then from there, in the last 7 years, I've auditioned other dancers. I've got to know, outside dancers I've never worked with. They do a lot of performances around the area. We travel and we rehearse on the weekends. So it kind of works well. I get to teach, students during the day and then work with professionals and see myself develop artistically, but also them as well. And then I was like, I want more. So I decided to take my group of dancers that I had in my company, and we developed a dance competition. And that started because I am also a judge for various dance competitions. I've been in the judging world for about 10 years. So I started my own dance competition 3 years ago, and that has just blossomed because it's really nice to have my dancers work with me and develop this competition because they have themselves been in the competition field. So they like to be on the other side of it and see how it runs and all that. So yeah, like I said, everyone's like, you always just want to, keep going. And it's just dance. There's so many elements of dance. There's so many different things you can do with it. And that's kind of like where I'm at. I'm always like, okay, what else can I do? I'm all about reaching out to the community and working with so many different dancers. Of course, do master classes and, at other various studios just because I'm not in that studio setting. And then I also did go on and get my master's at Temple recently because the long-term goal is to maybe be a professor one day. So so I just think it's really great how the dance world is small in a sense, but it is so big. There's so many different options you can do with it. And it's just
And
been,
you're living proof of that, right? Because
I try to
in
be.
just a few minutes, you showed like all the different possibilities in the dance world that maybe some people aren't aware
Yeah.
about, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I think, my biggest thing is wherever I go, I try to tell dancers, like, don't give up on yourself. I mean, that was the number one thing, but like, just keep pushing and knowing what you want and go for it. And if you fail, you fail, and that's okay. And go on to the next dream.
It's all part of the journey, right? And speaking of that, like I'm sure you had some struggles along the way. So why don't we talk about maybe some struggles you faced when you first started dancing, or maybe some struggles like while you were going through these transitions, right, in your career? Yeah, just a little bit about the journey.
Sure. I would say in the beginning, the biggest struggle as a dancer is knowing what route you want to go. And I think being okay with failure. Obviously, I did, like I said, I tried to do the whole performing aspect. I really fell in love with dance companies, but time was always a factor, auditioning. So it's just, you kind of have to find that groove of like what means more to you. And for me, it was teaching. So that's why I was like, okay, I don't have time to keep auditioning and keep a job and keep financially stable, So that is the struggle. As we all know, starving artists, it's just trying to stay afloat, but also doing what you love. So I will say that's probably the number one struggle, knowing that not all the time you're going to be financially stable. I'm lucky enough to find a full-time position that I have a salary and all that good stuff. But in the sense that I want to experience more and to be able to do that, money comes into play. So I think not to give up on yourself, know that there is success coming your way, no matter what that might look like.
What about like with dance specifically? Like when you were just dancing as a kid, like what were some hurdles that you had to overcome, like learning to dance?
Yes. Okay.
Before you started thinking about a career in dance,
Sure.
right? Yeah.
Yes, I would say as a young dancer, the biggest struggle probably would be for my self defeat. I think I was a competition dancer, and like any kid, you want to win, right? So being okay with not winning, and being in the competition world, everyone thinks, oh, you win the title or you win first place, you're the best. That's not necessarily true, as we all know. So, and that's, I think, why I love to go into judging too, because I might see something different than you do or someone else, and that's what I try to carry on through with my students too. Like, you don't need to be the best. There's something magical about yourself, and to be confident in that. And I think for myself, I had to find that confidence, and that was a struggle for a while, but I knew I had something special. It was just like I needed to bring that out.
And I think that's probably served you when looking for all these career paths, right? And having that confidence that you built over time. What is like something else like that you would say, like, how do you think going through this whole process as a young dancer, how has that shaped you as a person and how does that affect your life today?
In particular, the confidence struggle that I had has brought me to this point. So just reminding myself that I'm doing the best I can and someone will see something in me, whether it be a job or whether it be the success. I mean, even just starting a professional dance company, I had to find that confidence in myself that like, yes, I can do this and I can build a community around me and dancers that want to audition for me. Because I will say, that's something hard too. Like, not everyone's gonna be like, oh, I know Narissa from Artistic Edge, I want to audition for her. So you have to kind of promote yourself as many ways you can but that comes from that confidence, like, promoting yourself. And then that it all falls into place too from there. And that's what I've noticed. Like, being able to work with so many different studios and choreographers and teachers, they say connections, is valuable, and it is. And I think being humble and knowing good people around you is helpful as well, because they'll connect you to somebody else. And I try to do that for myself as well. Like if there's a job posting for one of my dancers that I think they would be really great at, I'm always like, here, try this out. And again, so I think in reality, just staying true to who you are, being confident in who you are, and it will serve you. And again, being humble and kind, and knowing that the community is small, but people do talk too. So
Yeah.
that is important.
It is. Yeah. And I love how you talked about the confidence, because I think that is something we all need no matter what career choice, like whatever path we go down on, because yeah, if you don't believe in yourself, right, you can only go so far. And that's why, like, I'm a firm believer that even if you don't want to be a dancer professionally, or you don't want to teach dance still gives you those skills, right, that those life skills that you need no matter what path you go on down the road, right, that confidence, that resilience, right? So it's magical, I find.
Yeah.
And what's something that you wish that your students, or maybe the dancers that you work with, like what's something that you wish that they knew about you?
I think that is it right there. That struggle piece, because I think they look to me and they're like, you have it all. You know what I mean? Like the success came to you. No, like
Yeah.
it's been a challenge and it's been a rough road. But staying positive and confident is number one key. And I try to tell them, and I work with dancers that have never danced before at the charter school. And I just see some of them just blossom. And I have to be that carrier of their confidence sometimes. You giving them that positive and be like, yes, you can do this. And even though you started so late, or you only take my class for an hour a week at a charter school, if you really love this, there are multiple things you can do with it. I know, for example, one of my students, a boy, he started as a middle schooler, and I'll never forget the first time that he came into my classroom, and he was very shy, reserved, and like kind of like looking around like, I don't know about this. But to this day, he is now a sophomore, and he has just blossomed. Like no experience in like studio setting, but just has taken my class, throughout this time at the charter school, and he truly, truly loves it. And you can just tell. Yes, technically things to still work on, but he will work for it. That is something that I really love to see too, is that like passion come through in a dancer and just keep that drive going. It's just so important. So to answer your question, yeah, I wish they would know that like truly have struggled myself, and that confident piece is so important to keep you going. If you really love dancing, you want to keep it a part of your life in some capacity.
Yeah, and actually I love that, because that's exactly why I was inspired to start this podcast, because would get so many comments of people coming to my class, and I teach dance fitness, so it's like nowhere near like your level of like technique and stuff, right? But I still get people be like, "Oh, it's a Brazilian dance fitness class," right? So like, "Oh, well, your parents are Brazilian, it's in your blood." I'm like, "No. It was super hard for me in the beginning. I've been teaching for over 20 years now. Like, don't compare your first class to my class, like whatever, 2000, 3000, right? Like, and I think that a lot of people have this habit of looking at their teacher, their instructor, as like someone who's never struggled before and they were just born with all these talents, right? And I wanted to showcase that that's not the case, right? So the more you keep telling yourself that, the more you hold yourself back from finding joy through dance, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's exactly what I want to showcase on the show. So thank you for
Good.
that.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yes.
And yeah, so you mentioned that boy that, had really good success. Is there any like other success stories that you want to share?
Yes, there's one more. Another one at the charter school. Again, no prior experience. But just recently, she's also a sophomore, and she started about 3 years ago. But this year, she said, I think in some capacity, some way, I would like to continue dancing in my life. And I said, that is great. She's like, I know I started late, I don't take much dance, but like, is there a way that I can succeed in this? I said, it's all in your heart. It's the passion, the drive. It's what you make of it, and there are so many different routes. Maybe you're not a dance major at, a dance college, but you could do a dance team, or, you could do, even something on the side. You know what I mean? Like you can continue dance classes as an adult. It's not, the success is not always in the label of what you're doing, right? Like it's if you love dance, you make it what it is and you keep it in your life for that value of I love to do it and I want to keep it in my life. So that was really special, that moment of like, wow, like what I'm doing here really means something. And I really have grown these dancers to love something that they thought they would never love. You know, kids that never thought they could experience dance had an opportunity and they took it with stride. And it's so cool to see.
And I love how you show them that sometimes all you have to take is that first step, right? And then the next step will appear, right? And then just kind of let things unfold.
Yes.
Yeah, whenever it's meant to happen, it'll happen, right? You just have to kind of trust the process, find the right support system along the way, which your students seem to have with you, right? So that makes a big difference.
Love that you said that, the support system, because I feel like without my support system, I wouldn't be where I am today. You know, teachers and friends and family, and just the constant support that I have, even to run my events in my company. You know, my family is always there, or friends, like some of my closest friends that don't even have a dance, you know, background. They want to come and help and support me. And it's just, that's number one too, is to know you have people in your corner cheering you on and there to help and support you.
Yeah, that makes a big difference, especially nowadays. I think people are more and more lonely, right? So it makes it even more challenging to, take those big risks and, really trust yourself. And especially when you feel like you have to do everything alone. But odds are you'll be able to find, some sort of support system, right? But sometimes people have a hard time asking for help, right? Or feeling like they have to do things all on their own. And then it can slow things down a little bit, right? I'm one of those people, actually. I'm one of those people who I have a hard time asking for help. And I know firsthand how like I have to like get over that, right? Like it's challenging
It's
for
okay.
sure.
Yeah.
We
Right.
all have our challenges, right?
Yep.
So what would you say is the kind of impact that you're looking to make in the world?
I think the biggest impact I would want people to see when they hear me, you know, hear my name or see me, is that she really loves what she does, but also wants to feel the dance community. I just want to spread my wings, and anybody that can and wants to dance, let's do it. You know, and even people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, I can't dance." I'm like, "Yes, you can." I always tell them,
Mhm.
"Yes, you can. You have 2
Yes.
feet. Let's move." And even if you
Mhm.
don't, you know, like
Yeah.
you can dance with your upper body. Like it's so important to know that dance is just, again, not about this name title or I have this much experience. If you love to dance, I want you to dance. And that's the biggest thing, is that I hope I impact others just to keep dancing in any capacity, whether it be, you know, in a dance setting or even just, you know, on the dance floor at a wedding because you love to dance. And it's okay. And nobody should judge. And if it's just the step touch, it's the step touch, but you're
Yeah,
dancing. So
exactly.
really, I hope people look at me and they're like, wow, you know, she really wants to bring that out in a lot of people. And a lot of my shows too. The other thing I want people to really see about me is my company shows. I always try to have a message come through our shows. So the one year we did, it was called Act to Change. It was all about bullying in the schools, empowerment, judgment, equality, like all the things we were going through during COVID, you know, those hard times. I did this show just to kind of promote awareness of like, we are all in this together. I know that's cliche, but that's what I wanted people to walk away with. Like, we all deal with different things and we need to come together and stand by each other. And if we see something wrong, like speak up. And I try to use my company as a platform in those shows that like dance can bring joy, you know, but also it can be a serious matter of like coming across with a serious message. So, like I said, that was probably my favorite show I did. And then recently we did one on mental health, just because, you know, mental health is such a, you know, a big thing going on in our life. So I wanted people to be like, it's okay, you know, come out and talk about it because so many others are dealing with it too. And I feel like that show really impacted a lot of people to be like, wow, you know, if so and so is going through it, I am too. I'm okay to speak up about it now, because I think too, talking about it, that's what I've noticed. That like more people are prone to do it if they feel like, okay, I'm safe with you because you understand.
And it's interesting that you bring that up because, I saw a study that came out last year. I'm sure you saw it, right? That dance is the number one way to fight depression. And I
Yep.
mean, I love that we have that data, right? That we can share. And I actually brought that up because we are starting university clubs, right, with our program. And I was at a club fair just this past weekend and I talked to this lady about it. And her response was, she said, well, when I'm depressed, I like the last thing I want to do is dance. And I was like, okay, that's fair. She's like, yeah, so like I'd like to look at that study to see if it's true and if they did it properly and blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, that's fair. She's like, sorry, I work in science, so I'm like skeptical. And I was like, okay, that's fair. But I want to look more into the study. But I think what they looked into was that to avoid things to escalate, right? Like, so for you not to allow yourself to get to that point where you don't want to get out of bed and you don't want to move, right? And that's how dance can contribute, right? If you're doing that on a consistent basis, right, that can make a difference in your life. But not like if you've never done anything and all of a sudden like you're at the bottom of the barrel, like you're gonna want to get up and like dance, right?
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
think movement in general, right? Like just
Yes.
even some yoga, Pilates, running, walking. I mean, that's why they say fresh air is good. So absolutely, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think anything is tough, right? When you're in a really dark place. But again, that's where you learn to ask for help, right? Find a support system. And, maybe it's dance, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's, going for a walk, right? But as long as you do something and baby steps too, right? Because I find that when you jump too quickly into new things, that can have the opposite effect, right? Because then you get all that resistance from the brain saying like, why are you doing this, this is new, and then you just kind of like talk yourself out of it, right? So just like baby steps, like dance for like 2 minutes and then work yourself up to 5 minutes, right? And do it that way. And I think you're more likely to find some joy, like even like you said, like just dance, like step touch, right? Like no choreography, just do turn on the music and move the way your body feels like moving.
Right?
Right,
Even
and
just
and go from there.
sway. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think too, dance is just out there. It's on social media, it's on TikToks,
Yeah.
like it's just become an element of joy. Um, and that's what's so cool about it.
Hmm.
Even people that have never thought they would ever dance, they're dancing, they're TikToking,
Yep.
It's like, it's really
Exactly.
cool.
And like with our program, it's a Brazilian dance fitness program. And obviously, like people compare us to Zumba a lot. It's very different, but they say, oh, yeah, you do that Brazilian Zumba class. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But part of my mission is to introduce all the different Brazilian music styles, right? And because of social media, like it's kind of all over now. People are more curious about Brazilian music, especially like the younger generation. So that's really helping like to get out
Yeah,
there, right? And people love the beats and stuff, right? So social media definitely helps in that sense.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you think, like what would you say is something that the world needs more of nowadays?
So it's gonna go along the lines of being cliche and saying peace, but I just feel like this world, we just need to get along in some capacity of whether we can take away the hate, it's just again going back to my one show about act to change, that was one of the key factors too. I just felt like there's so much hate in this world. And it's just like I wish we could take that element out, which it will never happen. It's an emotion, it's part of people, but I just feel like if we had more understanding of one another, and that would maybe pull away a little bit. Just because, like I said, I don't want to sound cliche, but I feel like we could have a better world if we were all just, we came together and we could understand each other. We can have opinions, right? But it doesn't have to be you're right, you're wrong. It's just that's your opinion. And I'm going to accept that, but accept my opinion as well, type of feeling. So getting a little deep there, but that's really
Yeah.
really what I wish would happen. And I don't know if I can keep, getting those messages out through dance and through my shows, because I will gladly keep doing it as much as I can. I actually wanted to take that one show Act to Change and like start touring in different schools to help, because I feel like yeah, it starts so young, right? And if we can stop it, maybe it wouldn't venture on into adults. But as we see, it still happens in adults, even though we know better. But younger kids see adults reacting like that, so then they think it's okay. So it's just kind of like this element, like, okay, let's keep the kids on this like positivity and supporting each other, and maybe it could possibly change. I will
Yeah.
keep.
And I guess
I will keep
that's
hoping.
showing. Yeah, and that's showing, kind of the other side of social media that's not so positive, right? Because it's become easier for people to show, like if you see a post on social media that you don't agree with, all of a sudden you're attacking them, and not sure you would do that face to face to someone, right? Like, so all of a sudden, those keyboard warriors come out and they're like, they have these really strong opinions. It's like, if you don't like it, scroll past, and I always like ask myself, I'm like, how much time do you have in your day? Like, I don't have time to sit here on the computer
Yeah.
arguing with a total stranger. There's that. And also, like, I noticed my daughter, she's 4. She's in
I have a 4-year-old
kindergarten.
daughter too.
Oh, yeah. And so she gets home. I don't know if your daughter does this, but she gets home sometimes. She's like, I hate this. And I'm like, where did you learn to just like hate things?
Right.
I'm like, you don't have to hate anything. You can say, I don't like it. Right. And like, I don't use that like language at home. So it's
Right.
like definitely something she's picking up at school.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do you have to be like so intense with,
Right.
that's a really strong word. But
Yeah.
obviously she's still learning, right? But yeah, like you said, if you can go on tour and like kind of nip that in the bud while they're
Yeah.
young, right? That can have like a huge positive ripple effect.
Yeah. And I think that's why I see it. I have 2 daughters, one's 2 and one's 4. And I see a difference in my older daughter just because their brains are, developing and they're picking up things, but also being in a school setting. So I teach 3rd grade and then I teach 7th through 12th grade. So I see a lot of ages, a lot of levels. I see the change through middle school to high school. And I think that's why it hits me so hard. It's that I'm like, this is our generation, and they need to know better, and we need to do better for them. I don't know.
Well,
I
I
need to
think
start
you're
somewhere.
doing your part for
I'm
sure. You're
hoping.
doing
I
your
hope I
part.
am.
I can feel it. Like I can feel that you're doing everything that you're meant to do. So that's
Thank you.
wonderful.
Appreciate
And
that.
what advice would you give to someone who's just, maybe a little curious about dance, maybe a little hesitant? So, someone who's, listening to this podcast, so maybe they didn't have an opportunity to start dancing as a kid, right? But now they think like the time is right. What would you say to them?
Go for it. Step into a class, or if that, is too much to start with, obviously turn on some music and just dance around. But if you're a little bit more serious, yeah, just step into a class and know that it's okay if it feels uncomfortable at first, because
Meant to be, right?
the more classes you do, you're going to feel more comfortable. You're going to be more open to do new things that make you feel uncomfortable. I think that's why I love dance too. There's so many things that can make you feel uncomfortable. The more you do it, then you're like, this is like second nature. Also, even genres of dance, right? Like I never was a huge tapper. I just always did it. But then later on, when I had to teach it, because they're like, yeah, you have experience in tap, love it even more, because I really had to tone down to like the foundational again. And I was like, wow. Where, obviously contemporary jazz, hip hop, that was more my forte. So I felt more comfortable with it. And I was like, okay, I got this. But when you really struggle with something, I feel like you develop more of a sense of struggle with it, that you want to devote more time to it. So all I would say is go for it and use that confidence. Be
Yes.
confident in yourself and know that we're all here to support you. And that's the thing too. I think when you step into studio, sometimes you're like, oh, all these dancers, they're going to judge me. No, we're all doing it together for the same reason, that we love it. You're going to love it. So just do it. The Nike
Yes.
simple, just do it.
Yeah, that's come up a lot on the interview. So there's something there, right? But yeah, I love how you said about how, you started teaching tap and how that, made you develop even more as a tapper, right? Because they say that like the best way to learn something is to teach, right? And that's like when you really, really grow. And also, like, I think it's always interesting to realize that when you're going through struggles, like, odds are down the road, you're going to use those struggles to inspire someone else, right? So, if I try to remind myself of that, like, when I'm going through struggles with my business and things like that, I'm like, okay, like, this is going to be in my book one day, or this, I'm going to talk about this in my keynote speech, one day, right?
Yes,
And I
absolutely.
think that most people like shouldn't like kind of face their struggles that way, right? Like, okay, what am I supposed to be learning through this struggle, and how is this going to affect my life down the road or affect someone else's life, right? So just kind of do it and just let things unfold and trust the journey, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Trust the journey, trust the process, right? Like
Yes.
just go for it and see what happens. And it's okay again to fail, and you just step back on and do it again. Try again.
What's the worst that can happen, right? Like, you don't like
Right?
it and you don't come back. It's not the end of the
Yeah,
world, right?
exactly. Doesn't matter.
And there's so many other, like you said, there's so many styles too, right? Like maybe the first like genre you try out isn't your thing, but keep going, right? Until you find that thing that just that lights your heart on fire, right? It can take some
Yes.
time,
Yes.
but yeah,
We all
just
need
kind of go
happy.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
like,
We all
release the
just need to be
pressure, right?
happy.
Like, release the pressure of, like, I have to find the perfect class, like, within a week or else I give up, right? Like, yeah, and
Keep
we do that to
going, you know.
ourselves
If it doesn't
sometimes.
feel right, try another one. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. All right, so let's now talk about how people can get in touch with you, so you can talk about,
Sure.
your social media accounts, websites, all of that fun stuff.
Absolutely. So on Instagram, I am on there as Nerissa Westcott. Oh, I'm sorry. Fell Narissa. It's my maiden name. So Fell Narissa. So that's Instagram. Also, my company has an Instagram, and that's Artistic Edge Dance Company. And then we also have Instagram for the dance competition, and that is Dance the Edge Dance Competition. I'm also on Facebook, Nerissa Westcott, and my company is also on Facebook, and that's Artistic Edge Dance Company. So feel free to follow, like, message. I would love to help anyone that's looking to start dance or has a career in dance and want to do more with it. Again, I love working with anybody because this is just my passion, but more primarily, I love to work with others and like get them to love it as well or keep going with it, no matter your age. And that's what I
Mhm.
said. If someone out there is older, and you want to get learning, let's learn.
Yes, love it. And all of that information will be in the show notes. So it's really easy to just click and access and get in touch with Nerissa quick and easy. Well, thank you so much, Nerissa, for being on the show. I loved learning about your journey and just feeling that passion that you have and the impact you're making is so beautiful. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all of it with us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. This is wonderful.
Great. Well, thank you for listening to the show today. If this is your first time here, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, leave a review because that's actually the best way for other people to find out about how dance can impact their lives. And we're all about sharing that dance love across the globe. So we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the Dance Yourself Brave show. If today's episode got you hyped, inspired, or just made you want to bust a move, do me a favor, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear today's message. Sharing is caring after all. And hey, don't forget, your courage is already in you. Sometimes you just gotta dance it out to feel it. Catch you next time, keep shining, and keep dancing yourself brave.